586, whatever it was, and then you kind of hooked up with them. Let's be candid. You did pretty well by being on the team for a while. So I'm guessing that. So walk us through how did your life change when those guys kind of got the head seat? How did it change for the positive or worse? How did you handle it? And then when did it start to decline?
Well, I came around 81 initially, and Genie Gotti, I believe, was made around 77, and Senior about 78, something like that. And then the reign begins, and Junior gets made in about 88, Christmas Eve. Later on, Richie Gotti gets made, Pete Gotti gets made, I think a year around the same time as Junior, a year before or after. I'm not really sure right now off the top of my head. But I was around during that reign with every one of these guys, and I was very close, and I started having a personal falling out with Gotti Jr. after he's an acting boss in about 92. And we worked together from that, but things were different after that. But, I was there the whole time through the beginning of the Gotti reign to the end. And, we all, especially me, I mean, I was a violent guy for them. I was involved with them, and I can't say, I'd be a liar to say that I didn't make a ton of money because I was with the Gotti family while they had the reign. I said, of course I did. But I was also the guy that was doing a lot of work for them to give us that power. So, when you have violent guys around, and we're all earning, the 80s were strong earning years for anybody who was on the street, not just mobsters, drug dealers, gang members. It was an open world, not like now. Now you have GPSs, you have telephones that attract, you have cameras in every corner, cameras in front of buildings. I mean, to get away with anything now, it's almost impossible. So it's changed the structure of how to make money and how violent you can be. And you can be violent, but you're going to get caught. I don't see too much violence because there's no way you're going to get away with it with all these cameras out there these days.
Now, you were also unique in your book, which I'm a huge fan of. I'd love to have you plug it in a second. But you're unique because you were hooked up in not just the Italian mafia locally in New York, but you knew cartel guys, you knew guys in Cuba, you knew guys in Brazil. How do you get hooked up with those guys? And then, for example, do they have a relationship with the local mafia? Walk us through how you got kind of hooked up with the cartels and the Cubans and that kind of stuff. And then how did that relate or translate back to the Gottis?
Well, I was best friends. I went out with a girl that's brother was run as a kid that was running the Hells Angels. He become the president of the Hells Angels. Pepe just passed away. So respect to him, obviously, his family for him passing away. And so I was very friendly with them. I was friendly with different black groups from the street because of who I'm still very friendly with that were running drugs with me. And we kept a rapport over the years, and we're still in touch with each other. And then I became, Albanian, and my heritage, and a lot of the people in Albania, friends of mine, family, that are throughout the world, and especially, what drove me back to Albania on a regular basis, that were gangsters. And, and I talk about my heritage all the time. So, that pull helped me around the world in different countries because of our culture and a European culture and being a violent culture. So it gave me access to different guys and different bosses across the world. And I went into the cartel. I was friendly with one of the bosses there through one of their sons. So it made me go over to Colombia, brought me over to Venezuela. In Cuba, I had some personal friends. And in Europe, I had a guy that was in prison with that me and him hooked up early on in the late 80s, early 90s. And he had a good buddy that was in L.A., California, that I was moving drugs with. So we had connections. So, I developed connections from really being on the street. A lot of these mob guys aren't on the street like that. They might be involved as gangsters, but they don't have access to different groups. I had access to different groups, like the Latin Kings and different groups like that. And later on, different street gangs, whether black, white, Spanish, who I stayed in touch with, stayed friendly with. And over the years, we kept that rapport. Now I'm on a different track, obviously. And, I don't lecture those guys. Whatever they want to do is their business. We're still friends. But I look at it as, they're adults. And I've said this over and over. The kids is a different thing. I steer them away from this life. And, my goal is to keep them away from this life.
So like I said, we'll get on to the books and the other fun stuff, but just categorically fascinated by all this. And if somebody's still listening to this, they are as well. So you're sitting at a table with a cartel guy having a cigar. You know, obviously, I'm assuming